Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 81 of the All in Football Fantasy Premier League Show podcast. I'm your host, the self-proclaimed FPL guru, Alex Rex, as depressed as ever because it's another international break, being joined by my usual suspects of Scott Williams and Barry Stokes. Scott, how are you?
I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. It's still proper football though this weekend, isn't there? So let's not forget about your local clubs. Go down to your, I don't know, non-eating Villa or something like that. Go watch them.
What have you got this weekend?
I can't actually remember who we've got. I'm still depressed. We lost last night. We can't play away from home. Every team sees it as a cup final when the players now. So our away form's in great, but I'll tell you what we've got this weekend. We've got Darlington in the FA Vars.
Oh,
Guys.
big.
Yes. We're like the favourites for this because we're like the highest ranked team in it. So I don't know. But yeah.
We get some silverware, mate. That'd be nice.
That'll be good. Be good.
Would you have an open top bus tour around the middle of Scunthorpe if you won the Vars?
We won the Vars. No, I don't think we would. I think we'd just parade it around the ground. That'll be for when we win the league title. We all love the open bus tour, yeah. But my mum was quite funny. We was on about like the playoffs and stuff, and she mentioned Wembley, and I was like, I'm pretty sure they don't play the playoff finals at Wembley for National League North. I think they'll just be at Central Park in Scunthorpe or something. But,
yeah. Barry, how was your commute home and how are you feeling?
Well, after the stressful stuck in traffic, but apart from that, more good, mate. More good.
Good. Thank you very much to Callum Burnett, top of the league, for Tsimikash in the attic. Oh, God, so proud of that.
Top of the league and top of the puns.
Top of the league, top of the puns, and doing very well. And this man here, Tsimikash, has made me feel very good this week, getting me 15 points. And to everyone who had him on the bench, oh no. I've seen so many benchings of Tsimikash this week. I didn't think there'd be that many, with considering the fixture at home to Brentford. But a couple of people had some benching dilemmas and headaches, and some people started like a Palace defender over him. And obviously they conceded 3 at home to Everton, which is such a random thing to do. Yeah, couldn't see a 3-2 in that game at all. When it came up second on Match of the Day, if anyone was doing the Match of the Day challenge and didn't know what the scores were, they'd have been like, why is this game second? This is definitely a last game. But yeah, 15 points for Tsimikash. So yeah, exciting times. Don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms, guys. On Football Pod, on Football P, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Continue to like our videos on YouTube, subscribe to our channel, join our 30 plus subscribers that we've got, become another follower of the All in Football Pod, All in Football podcast, and also give us 5 stars wherever you get your podcast from. Right, let's talk about Manager of the Week. Nearly with me. And Cole Palmer scored a penalty in the last minute. I didn't get Manager of the Week. Well done to... I got 99 points. Well done to our man who got a century this week, James Pellet. Pellet's right, isn't it, Scott?
yeah, that'll do.
Yeah. 100 points. The only man in our league to join the century club this week. It's because he went with single Fulham defence. Joking.
First, I thought you were going to say the only manager with double Fulham defence there.
No, he shifted away from it and got Tsimikash. But it's great, though. Kanji, Tsimikash. Leno's still doing well with points this season. We will cover points for keepers so far this season. So, yeah, having Leno's not a bad thing. Cash with 2 points, a disappointing blank for Cash as well. Kanji 6, Tsimikash 15. Jared Bowen with 8, Diaby with 6, Mohamed Salah with his 32 points, 16-point haul, Captain Salah, Matone with 1, and Cole Palmer with that 6 points at the end, that penalty against his old club, and one of the best games I've watched this season. Probably the best game I thought I've watched this season, with 6 points. Haaland with 16, and Watkins with 6. I haven't actually seen
he still moaned though, didn't he? Manager of the week, 100 points, and he was still doing a bit of moaning about Alvarez having 5 points there. Typical FPL manager.
It never changes. I got 99 and I was like, I brought in Bruno as a gamble over Eze. I could have had 3 more points. It's like, shut up, you got 99 points, Al. Like, take it and run with it. It's not often you have a good
99 points, but the win ain't won.
No, absolutely. I probably should have used that as the title. I will now look at our league, which for some reason I don't know why this has happened to me that I can't click on the right thing. Here we go. So Callum Burnett gone top of the league with 88 points, overtaken Richard Kirk, who is one of the people who had Tsimikash on the bench. I think he's one of the people with Tsimikash first sub. Trippier, Gabriel, and Cash. I mean, like it's just difficult debates who you're going to be benching there. But yeah, 4 points clear at the top, 793, 789 for Richard Kirk. So Callum Burnett, Richard Kirk. Third place, we've got Martin Wheel with 772 points. And then Will Hughes, who wildcarded this week, who has only done 5 transfers so far this season. He is, and he's still up there with 763, 30 points off the top. Jimmy Barker in 5th, Sandy with a big nosebleed still. Sandy Punjan in 6th, former champion Adrian Chippendale in 7th, David Byrne in 8th, Marco Marinelli in 9th, and Sam Danby Bailey in 10th. You're down there in 12th, Baz?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Floating back. Could have been obviously a lot higher, but obviously Watkins didn't do the business, did he? Because I gambled on Watkins.
Didn't bother scoring any goals, did he? Didn't bother put the ball in the back of the net. But yeah, so 727's not too bad. It's all very close, I think, overall. I've had a look at a few of our statistics that we've got so far this season, and Barry still no hits taken.
Challenged myself, no hits.
I love that that's your challenge. You and the number one in the world have taken no hits. The number one in the world has not actually used his wild card yet, by the way. He's used no chips and taken no hits, and he's winning the whole of FPL, so it must be nice 12 weeks in. Do you think, and it's a question I'm going to ask you again because you're still going to try to take no hits, I know, this season, and I'm going to ask you at different intervals. Do you think that you'd have been better off maybe taking a -4 once or twice so far this season, potentially, when you've maybe missed out on a transfer, you've gone a week late when you could have gone a week at a time? I know you're trying not to take hits, but do you think there's been a time when you're like, I probably should have just taken a -4 there? Or
yeah, 100%. But it's one of them in the back of your mind. You're like, I'm going to be losing points, and I've got to get a return from this player I'm bringing in. So it's like I don't really want to take the gamble. Like, obviously, I wanted to get rid of Son this week, but obviously Saka was injured, and I'm like, he's got obviously a flag on him, and I'm like, oh, I'll not gamble on that. But now I've got 2 free transfers after the international, so it's not too bad on that. And I've obviously lost a few points on that because Saka obviously did a assist. Yeah. So, but yeah, to be honest, I'm still not going to do it.
I don't know. You got stubborn. You're like, I'm not doing any hits. Somebody else say someone else who hasn't done any hits. Callum Burnett, who's winning our league's taken 4 points. He's done 1 hit so far this season. Scott, you've done 12 points, and I'm getting beaten up, taking so many hits. 24 points so far this season I've taken. But for me, the 24 points in hits I've taken have definitely made me more points back because I'm so far behind. So yeah, it is interesting. My thing that's let me down is I've only had 50% correct captaincies so far this season. So I'm 6 out of 12 right, and the other 6 are just blank for me. Whereas you guys are both on 8 out of 12 captaincies being correct. And so is our league leader, Callum Burnett. 3-5-2, Scott. Your formation, 10 out of 12 game weeks, you've played 3-5-2. Seems like the one that you are nailed on to. Whereas Barry, we've seen a little bit more of a flexible. Have you played 3-4-3 and 3-5-2? When this eventually loads, would be great. Defenders, staying away from them deliberately, lads.
Yeah, I don't think you've got your defenders that are returning as many attacking returns this season as we've seen in seasons gone by. Certainly the season before last, I think it was, we saw a lot of attacking returns from Trent, especially your bigger name defenders as well. So I'm quite reluctant, I think. I think the last couple of seasons as well, like your midfield is so strong, and there's so many good options around that like 6 million mark, where I think majority of teams will have 5 in there. When you're looking at a budget option as well, most people have got a budget striker, so I'd be shocked to see many formations starting with 3 up top. And you want to, when you've got your other two strikers, you kind of usually want to punt on them because, it's always a bit more fun as well. Praying someone scores rather than praying someone doesn't concede. I think it's a bit better. So that's why I've gone for 3-5-2. I've had my hand forced a lot though with sort of injuries, especially at the beginning of the season. As mentioned, after I wildcarded, my 4 million budget defender got injured, which wasn't fun, but
no,
it is what it is.
Baz, you've kind of an even enough split between 3-4-3 and 3-5-2. Sorry, my computer keeps reloading.
I started off
Forget
having three good attackers, and then obviously I've changed my whole team when I wildcarded and went for the 3-5-2 setup because, as Scott mentioned, there's so many midfielders that are getting you points. Where attackers wise, there's not really that many, and I thought if I get a budget attacker, then I can obviously use more money in the midfield option because obviously you're going to get that extra potential 1 point, but it's highly unlikely there's going to be clean sheets due to VAR gets involved with everything, as we saw in the Tottenham Chelsea game. So so that's my take on it. There's really not really a point of investing quite a lot in defenders, even though I've got Trippier, but as Scott mentioned, there's not really a lot of attacking returns in that front, but Trippier is probably the most that's going to do it because Trent isn't doing as much, even though he does get bonus points, but he's not getting the assist like he did last year. So
I think what's quite interesting as well, just to expand on the point a little bit, I'm just thinking about sort of how football's evolved over the years. There's not many teams that play like 2 strikers now. It's more kind of attacking midfielders, the way teams go to try and break teams down and get goals, etc. I think this is why, especially over the last few seasons, we've seen so many good midfielders. Because you people, like you may have said in the past, were more of a striker. I'm thinking maybe someone like a Marcus Rashford. They're now midfield players. So I think that's why we've, especially after the last few seasons, we've seen such a limited few strikers up there. I think Alex, you played FPL for as long as you probably can remember. I bet if you go back 10 years, there were so many more striking options. So more people were probably playing like 4-4-2s back then. Just quite interesting.
I mean, back in the day, when I first started playing, was like, Henri or whatever was one of the first players, but like then you had your Van Persies that you'd have every single week, and there was like even Drogba when I first started playing, but there's certainly you'd have strikers. Aguero who was one of the ones that you'd have a lot of. There was a lot of strikers that used to score you a lot of points, whereas now there's only been. I mean, there's been a couple this season that have done all right. I mean, the majority again, but like we've just talked about, have been midfielders that have performed at their best. I mean, Salah with 101 points is his second best start to a season he's ever had in terms of FPL points.
I mean, you got to argue someone like an Alvarez next season will be a midfielder on the game because he's kind of played as an attacking midfielder. So.
And Alvarez is an interesting one. He's somebody that we had a question about, just have a quick discussion on as a player, because if you look at his attacking returns, he started the season really well, 5-7-2 against Sheffield United, weirdly, 14 and 9. So he returned quite heavily in the first 4 out of the first 5 game weeks, and he has a 1, 8, 2, 9, 2, 2, and a 5. And he's just started to become somebody that we pretty much always have to have Haaland and Watkins, really, it feels at the moment, template. To have a third striker of Alvarez, is there any room for him in his squad at the moment, considering the amount of money you need to spend on midfielders? Don't know what you guys think, Baz.
I think because the fixtures going forward, as obviously YouTube the people who's watching can see, but obviously you've got like Liverpool, Spurs, and Villa, so you've got 3 hard games there, and you're thinking, is he going to potentially return in them? It's Haaland, you probably think he would, but Alvarez, it's one of them. I don't think he'll return loads in them fixtures, so that's why I went away from him. I did obviously have him at a period of time, but I thought, right, I'm getting rid of him because there's other potential options out there that can perform better. Who's got better, obviously, run the fixtures. So yeah, I wouldn't be looking at him just yet, but obviously when the fixtures get a bit better, then I'll probably be looking at him.
There's a big fixture swing for City coming, but in 16 they have got a blank in game week 18 against Brentford, which potentially will get scheduled for game week 20 or game week 21, which I'll touch on in a bit. But the next three, I just don't think there's any room for him. I don't know what you think, Scott. Do you think any different?
I agree. I think it's a tricky one. One thing I will say is right now he's a player that Pep trusts, and he's one that's playing week in, week out. All I will say is when them fixtures start to tweak end of December, correct me if I'm wrong, I think a certain De Bruyne is due back around then. Might be wrong. I feel like, to be honest. So and he's very much playing in a De Bruyne position, I would say, at the minute. So I want to keep an eye on, but I don't think he's returning crazily. So I think if he was doing what Watkin was doing like a few weeks ago, it would be like, yeah, maybe regardless of the fixtures, you need to get him in, because for them period of time, Watkins was outperforming Haaland. Yeah. But I don't think so at the minute. For me, he's ticking along nicely. He's someone you'd like to have in draft. I have him in draft.
Yeah.
And it's nice because he keeps ticking over and he gets me a few points every week. But it won't be someone I'd be sort of. I'd rather look at a midfielder to go along with Haaland for City. Probably Foden at the minute.
Well, that's an interesting question. So, we'll come back to what we're saying. It's an interesting question. We'll touch on that now, because Manchester City's fixtures are a bit insane. So, for podcast listeners, Man City, because they play in the Club World Cup, so they blank in a game that they would have been playing against Brentford at home in game week 18. But it doesn't mean that they don't play a game of football. So they have got they haven't got a free midweek basically now. For when they come back from the international break, they've got Liverpool at home, then they've got Leipzig, Spurs, Villa, Luton, RSB,
Red Star Belgrade.
Red Star Belgrade, good shout. Crystal Palace. Then they've got the semi-final and the final potentially of the Club World Cup. I'd have thought semi-final and final. Then they've got Everton, and then they've got Sheffield United, and they literally don't have a break for the rest of the year. There's a chance that between the 25th of November and the 30th of December, and it's a pretty strong chance, that they're going to play 14 matches, which is just a lot of fixtures. And then if they have the double game week, Sheffield and Brentford, they're going to play 15 matches in the space of like 5.5 weeks, 6 weeks. I mean, that's just crazy numbers.
I think the only caveat to that is that Red Star Belgrade's probably going to rest a lot of players, because I think the group will be won by then.
They're already through, aren't they?
They're through. They beat Leipzig. They've won the group. So yeah, there's a high possibility that Red Star he's going to be resting your Haalands, for instance, isn't he?
Yeah, it's just interesting because Liverpool at home, Leipzig at home, Spurs, and then Villa. They're 4 hard games in a period of time. I just think what I'm going to get at here is that I want more City players. I mean, game week 16 to game week 26. If we have a look at the fixtures on the graphic that Lego Mane produces, which is a really good one for a visual. 16 to 26, they have a blank game week in 18. They face Newcastle away in game week 21, Chelsea at home in 25, which for me is not I'm not bothered about that fixture. I played 2-3 City players in that game anyway. I mean, I know Chelsea look okay, but you know what I mean. 4-4 last time. Anything can happen. That run 16 to 26, they're the best team in the world. Like, you want more than one player, don't you?
The only problem is you've got the rotation risk with Pep, haven't you? If you're going for the players that he trusts, like, for example, Alvarez, and I just checked, De Bruyne is back 16th of December, they're saying. So he might get dropped from that, or they might put him on the wing. But then, obviously, you've got Foden potentially on the wing. Bernardo Silva looks like a player that's going to be trusted now. So that could be a potential shout for you if you want to, obviously, have a Bernardo Silva. So, yeah, that's the only issue with the Pep roulette situation.
The players that you have, the only person who really seems to be in the team every week is because he's club captain now, isn't he, Walker?
Mm-hmm.
So Kyle Walker, Haaland, and even Edison missed a game, didn't he? But Walker and Haaland are the only team that played over 1,000 minutes this season. Obviously, Alvarez has started every game with 12. Foden's featured in every game. But like your Diaz, your Rodri's, even obviously Rodri only missed because he got suspended though, didn't he? Like
Yeah.
it's something that we don't need to really worry about too much right now. But you have to think about it in your mind, like who. I feel like the person who's going to win FPL or who's going to do really well in our league is going to punt on the right City midfielder or defender. I feel like they're going to, I mean, maybe not win the whole thing, but win maybe a couple of managers of the month and get quite far. But like they're gonna make big gains in that period of time if you just hit that sweet spot of the right player that you pick. Because those fixtures are really good, aren't they? I mean, like they're a really good set of fixtures. I'm not going to go through them all because there's a lot of them, but like you've got your Luton, Sheffield United, Burnley at home. You've got some Everton at home. You've got some really good fixtures in there. So yeah, City top of the league. I know we were going to do a bit of a above par, below par, or par on each team as we go through the league table. Par surely top of the league. Champions.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think to be above par, they probably have to win every game, or at least not lost a game.
Yeah. Obviously they've lost 2 so far. Let's discuss Liverpool. So when I had a look at Liverpool's fixtures, they have a fixture run that isn't as good from game week 17 on to from maybe game week 23. They have Burnley and Bournemouth both away in there, but they have Man U, Arsenal, Newcastle, and Chelsea all at home. But tough enough games, and then Arsenal in game week 23. Game weeks 14, 15, and 16 after this this City game in game week 13. We call it Fulham at home, Sheffield United away, Palace away. I know they don't like playing Palace away too much, do they? But still, those 3 fixtures are still pretty decent for Liverpool. Potentially a Salah sell game week 17, free up some budget, move to Arsenal. Got a great run from game week 19. City obviously in 16. Can you stomach selling Salah, the top best player? What we thinking about Liverpool in general, lads? Sky, you go first.
Yeah, I think they're looking a lot more solid now. If you look at the recent fixture run, I know they lost in midweek. It was a bit of a crazy game in the Europa League, and obviously they did need a last minute equaliser against Luton. But I've said this before, Luton away it's a tricky game. No one's won by more than 1 goal at their ground all season. Be interesting to see what Man City do when they go there, actually. But yeah, they seem to be ticking over, is how I would say it. They've not blown teams away. They've not looked like they did that 2-year spell where they were just unbelievable with Man City. Well, obviously won the league 1 year, got 99 points and came second and something ridiculous like that. They're not blowing teams away, but they're looking all right, to be fair. The man we've got on the screen now for podcast listeners, Darwin Núñez, and he's one of them, isn't he? He gets a lot of chances, and he has got an absolute howler of misses in him, but he's got returns in him as well. Just to touch on the draft mode again, I've got him in draft, and he does. He just keeps ticking over and does keep returning. I think he's a good player. I something about him I like as well. I feel like he's a grafter. He works for the team, and he don't know. He seems to be back in the reckoning now. Seems to be someone that Klopp is trusting.
6 attacking returns in his last 7 games. Darwin is now showing some consistency, so he has to be on our radars. And this is what I've been waiting for with Núñez. Some consistency in returns of points. Like, I'm not bothered about you scoring 2 against Newcastle and then whatever. No, now you've got a goal. Yeah, you blanked against Spurs away. That's a tough game. Got an assist against Brighton, assist against Everton, a goal. No, he didn't play. Of course he didn't. No 0 minutes. It says it right there. That's you right.
Still blank, innit?
Still a blank. But just 6 attacking returns in all the 6 in his last 6 he's featured. But yeah, sorry. A goal against West Ham, assist against Brighton, assist against Everton, a goal and assist against Nottingham Forest. Nothing against Luton away, because as Scott says, Kenilworth Road, tough place to go. And then away at home to Brentford, he gets an assist. He's consistently returning now. So these 3 fixtures, obviously City's a tough game. If we're potentially looking at when Aston Villa have not the easiest run of fixtures now, Bournemouth away, but they've got an all right run, maybe 17, but that's when Liverpool's run ends. Could we be looking at a shift from Watkins to Núñez for these 3 fixtures? Baz, would you consider it? You love Darwin.
Yeah, I do. But as you mentioned, he's consistent. But he could be getting you a lot more points if he could put these to bed. He could be up there with one of the high scorers. But he easily has about probably 4 or 5 big chances per game. What I've always seen in match at day, it's always Núñez. And the link-up play between Salah and Núñez is good as well, as they touched upon on match at day. But I've only got one Liverpool, and I'm quite happy with that because Salah is Salah, and I'm quite happy with just that. So, and if I was looking at anyone, if I was getting rid of Watkins, I'm probably looking at a Wanye. Keeps ticking over quite nicely, I think. So
not Solanke.
Not Solanke, no. I do like Solanke, but no.
He's the a 1 year you wanted, is it? Nah, kind of works. Somewhere there, isn't there?
Plus they might get Eze as well, so that kind of works on your pun then.
So you just skip over that, Joe Bars. It's fine. All I'm here for is to try and make jokes.
Darwin XG of 5.15 this season. Salah obviously with 8.74, but Darwin's XG 5.15. He has scored 4 goals. So I mean, like it's not as bad as what it was. Like, and I'm a big believer in making sure we keep double checking these things and checking back because, like, you know, he's not as starkly bad as he was last season. So he's got to be someone that we pay attention to. And they're above par for me, Liverpool, definitely, as a team. This season, getting 27 points. They're well above what I thought they would be. Well, not well above, but they're above what I thought. They're 1 point off the top. Baz, par, above par, below par?
I'd say the par.
Baz, Scotty, sorry.
Yeah, I agree with Baz. You'd be saying at the start of the season, top 4 for this Liverpool team. They're in the top 4.
Fair enough. I think second and a point off City is above what I'd expect. So that's good. No, fine. I like that. Just a note again, Alisson's still the top scoring goalkeeper because he just always was every year. And Tsimikash seems like a good player to have for the time being. Hopefully, he's going to keep his place now. We'll go through the next couple of teams quite quickly. Arsenal, 3rd place in the league, 27 points. A few injuries. Obviously, Ødegaard's been out. Jesus has been out again. Lost their first match, obviously, against Newcastle. About par, above par, below par. Scott, what do you think of
par for this Arsenal team? They had to knock on from kick on from where they did last season, and they're in the title race after 12 games. 1 point off the lead, doing all right. Like you say, they've got a really good run of fixtures as well coming up. So I'd say par.
Baz?
Agree with Scott, par.
Yeah, 100%. Totally agree, word for word. And in terms of fixtures, they've got 3 good fixtures. Now, Brentford away is always never that easy. I suppose they've got Brentford away, Wolves at home and Luton away. I mean, on paper, they look a lot easier than what they are, don't they? Actually, yeah. when you think about it.
I think Brentford away is easier than Luton away this season.
It feels that way, doesn't it? Then they've got Villa, Brighton and Liverpool, which is tough. But then again, week 19, their fixtures look really, really good all the way through to like game week 28. So they've got some game week 19 is a good time to look at getting on those guys. Yeah, par for us, totally agree. Spurs, lots of injuries, lots of problems now that they seem to be facing. In terms of their fixture run, again, Villa and City next to, West Ham, and then Newcastle. I think they're 4 really tough fixtures for Spurs, especially missing a lot of the players that they are. They go on a really good run then from game week 17 onwards. Sell, keep any of them, stick with any of them, and what do you think of their chances, Scott? Just in general as a team for the next 4 weeks.
I think just to go with the par thing, quite enjoying it. Definitely above par. 2 points off the top of the league. A lot better than any of us thought that Spurs would do. Yes, they've had a good run of fixtures, but not their fault. Be interesting to see where they are after those few games. Sell for me now. I sold Son last week. Not because I didn't think Son's got a chance, but because of the creative players around him, i.e. Maddison's injured. They had so many injuries, I thought that would really affect them. If they didn't have the injuries, even with a tough run of fixtures coming up, I would probably have kept Son. So it's not anything against Son. It's just against everyone around them. But yeah, I thought that they were unlucky against Wolves on Saturday lunchtime. I thought they played that game really well. To say they had bare bones in the team. They're really unlucky. Probably a draw was a fair result in that game. For Wolves did all right. But yeah, it was a bit of a tough one to take, especially from the hangover from the Chelsea game.
Yeah, tough that. Baz, anything to add on Spurs?
I agree. Overachieving. I think you'd say probably par if they've still got Kane. Agree with Scott about selling potential Spurs assets as well, because obviously I was looking at selling Son. Disagree with the Wolves and Tottenham should have been a draw. I think Wolves were the better team, but probably about 80 minutes. I think first 10 they were slow starters and then they got into the game. So yeah, for Tottenham, overachieving.
Yeah, above par for me for Spurs as well. Villa, we have now got a difficult run. Spurs away, Bournemouth away, City at home, Arsenal at home, before the City fixtures start getting a bit better again in game week 17. A lot of us are heavily loaded on this Villa side now with 3 players. And some of us have got, like, I've got Douglas Luiz and I've got Archer, for an example, at Sheffield United. Sheffield United have got some quite good fixtures. I'm thinking of probably just rotating them and keeping them because Bournemouth at home, Burnley away. Then they've got Liverpool, that game week 15, which might be a bit tough. I'll have to look at my defenders. And then Brentford at home after. That's the Archer rotation with like Douglas Luiz. But are we holding Villa assets? Are we maybe selling one of them to make space for somebody else? And, I think it's pretty obvious it's over par, isn't it, for this Villa team so far this season? Yeah. What are you doing with your Villa, Scott?
Matty Cash selling. I don't want Matty Cash for that run of fixtures. Doug Luiz probably holding on. I'm not in a panic to get rid of him. What is he? 4.5 million, something like that.
Like 5.5.
Yeah, like a cheap enough, and like you say, I can just rotate him with Archer maybe. But at the end of the day, when you bring in a player for that amount of money, you're not expecting them to be returning week in, week out. If they get a return every now and again, that's fine for that amount of money. Watkins, I will be probably holding them. And then Man City and Arsenal games both away.
Home. Both home.
Yeah. I'd be tempted to hold him on just because I don't think there's a lot of other striking options out there. I'll probably see how he gets on the next couple of games. If he keeps scoring, I'm probably not going to take him out because you're going to get burnt potentially then. But yeah, that's how I would play it.
Baz, your thoughts on this? Because a lot of people have 2-3 Villas.
Pre-season, I think I had him in the top 6 anyway, Villa. So I would probably say that they're on par for me.
You think par for Villa? Is 3 points off Man City after 12 games.
I had him in the top 6.
I can't.
But if they were winning the league, that's technically the top 6, isn't it?
I cannot.
Yeah, but
you
I had him in the Europa
League.
I had him in the Europa League spot then. So there you go. So
hey, listen, fair play if you think that, but I'm 3 points off City after 12 games.
I think with some of the, like I said, some of the signings that they made, I thought this improves their team, and that's what they needed to make that next step, like what obviously Brighton did.
Yeah.
But yeah, Diaby's going for me. Potentially looking at selling him. I've got too much money invested in cash. And as I mentioned earlier, I might get rid of Watkins and get a 1 year in, I think.
So just going on what you said there, Baz, I agree with the top 6. Like if they were in the top 6, which they are, it wouldn't surprise me. But I also I would expect them more to have 21 points like Man U and like 7 points off the lead.
I'm not disagreeing the fact that they are technically overachieving on the points wise, but the position wise in the league is where I reckon they should be.
Oh, fair enough. Man United in 6th, the most informed team in the Premier League. That starts being thrown around everywhere. Isn't it? Last 5 games were in crisis. Ten Hag's getting sacked. The most informed team in the league. We played some rubbish sides, though, haven't we? Fixtures have been terrible. -3 goal difference in sixth. I mean,
Yeah.
the CEO's resigned this week. Well, today, Richard Arnold. Takeover is going to be announced next week. It's just an absolute shambles, isn't it? Really, who knows what's going on around the club? Yeah, so but below par, obviously, for me, and we're not investing in Man
I would
United
just
assets.
say the exact opposite of what I've just said about Villa. Like, the fact that they're in top six wouldn't be a massive surprise, but it's below because they're 7 points off the lead after 12 games.
Yeah. Baz, anything to add on Man United?
Scoring 13 goals. Let's have a look at the league. I say who scored less.
That is terrible, actually. Sorry, I have actually not realised how little goals they have scored till then. That's shocking, isn't it?
The teams, so the only teams that scored less than us are Palace with 12, Fulham with 10, Bournemouth with 11, Luton with 10, Sheffield United with 10, and Burnley with 9. So the bottom 5 plus Crystal Palace are the only
Even
teams who
Everton
scored
scored
less
more
than
than
Man
you.
And I brought Bruno Fernandes in this week.
United. He's
Still lots of them stats.
I think he's our top scorer, I think, isn't he?
Yeah.
You're a
Out of our
different team in Champions League, though. He's got scored loads in there.
Like Hoyland is different player in Champions
Yeah,
League.
he's Haaland when it comes to champs, isn't it?
Honestly, it's mental. I've got to say, right, I know even with the new owner coming in, new owner, same owners, 25% ownership going and stuff like, Ten Hag's he's getting a lot of bad press for getting a team that's only scored 13 goals to come sixth in the league at the moment.
I said it last week on the pod. They're ticking over, just winning game, playing badly. Imagine if they start playing well.
Yeah. Well, I sent you a load of images, didn't I, earlier in the
Yeah.
WhatsApp group of like a few decisions that have been debatable that haven't gone our way. 50-50s that haven't gone our way. And then a few things as well that like it's just we're in form. Ten Hag's like the fastest manager to get to 30 wins in the Premier League in his first 50 games. All this sort of stuff. He's got more points than Arteta and Klopp and whatever. Obviously, we've spent like £1 billion, so we should do. But it's just there's so much bad press around him.
It's the performances, isn't it? Like if you were like winning games like 4-3 and like free from football and stuff, it would be different. It's just and God, Man United.
And they haven't drawn a game either.
No.
We win or lose, don't we? We win by 1 or we lose by 1 or 2. But
it's just them and City until the other day, and then obviously City drew, didn't they?
Just mental. Like I can't. The fact that we're still 6th and we can probably still get into the Europa League. I mean, we can still get Champions League still, weirdly still. As in to stay in the Champions League, if things go away, it's mental. Just what a weird season. I couldn't even tell you what's going to happen. But the fact that we're 6th after everything that we're going through right now as a club, somehow, we haven't even had the amount of injuries. Talk about injuries. We've had loads of injuries, but Newcastle have got loads of injuries. Kieran Trippier was telling the fans all about it, apparently, after the game. I saw that. Newcastle, interesting, under par, over par. Looking at their fixtures coming up, they've got Chelsea at home, Man U at home, Everton away, and then Spurs away. So 4 tough games. They're also, when you look at the fixture crush, have I lost it? Is it there? Fixture crush. Yes. So they've got they've got PSG, then between Chelsea, two days between PSG and Chelsea, 3 days between the Man U game, then 4 days between the Everton game, then 2 days to Spurs, 2 days to, is that Milan, 2 days to Fulham, 2 days to Chelsea, 3 days to Luton, 2 days to Forest. It is just bam, fixture. Are they in trouble? Are they going to drop down to like 10th? Are they going to drop out the champ? What do you think of Newcastle, Baz? Do you think it's a bit of a doom and gloom situation, backs against the wall, or do you think they'll cope?
I think January's coming up, and I think they'll probably have to make some moves in there to strengthen their team. And for me, it was a debate on obviously Talksport and I agree with some of the Newcastle fans that actually said it, is get out of Europe. Just altogether. Don't even go into Europa League. Just get out of it. I mean, and win a domestic cup. I know it doesn't sound great, but there's too many fixtures for them, and the squad depth isn't that good.
There are 2 more fixtures still, though, if they stay in the Europa League, and they'll stay in the Europa League deeper So if they you either want to
they've got a chance of winning the Europa League, but with the injuries they've got, and obviously the squad depth, it could change in January. They could sign a few players, but for me, I'll be looking at it on that front. But obviously, Eddie Howe's not going to obviously look at that and go, yeah, we're going to just finish fourth in our group. Because at the end of the day, with the group anyway, you'd think, yeah, they're probably not going to qualify with that group that was given to them. So for me, that's how I would look at it in that way. Is were they expected to qualify from that Champions League group?
For podcast listeners, Scott's got his head in his hands at the moment. Scott?
I just, this is not you, Baz. I've just think there's idiot fans out there. Let's drop. We tried so hard all season to get in the Champions League. Oh, let's drop out of it. Let's drop out of it because we might win the League Cup. What an absolute joke. Those kind of fans, and do you know what? There was a lot of idiots sat around me and my mum when we went to the game on Saturday, and just thick fans wind me up. It's like, it's just so stupid. Like, you go to games week in, week out, and I bet you most of them Newcastle fans don't go to games. I bet they're just armchair fans that sit there every Saturday evening with a kebab watching it. Or the Gregs, there's about 1 million in Newcastle, isn't there? We've got no Newcastle listeners.
There are a lot.
It winds me up. It winds me up because why would you try all season to get into this amazing Champions League and then go, oh, I don't even want to go in it. Don't even want to go into Europe. Why? Because you're not getting relegated. 0% chance of getting relegated. And it was always going to be a really hard season, this one. And I remember Gary Neville saying it. He went, I really hope, because last season they overachieved. They wanted to get Europe. And Gary Neville said that I don't want Newcastle fans or the owners to panic if they get Europa Conference League, but they get a little run in the Champions League. Because that's fine. That's still a strong season. Some fans are deluded. They're absolute idiots. And I honestly can't believe that some people went on the radio to say that.
But also the people who say what they were saying to Trippier, though. I mean, I made a bit of a tongue-in-cheek joke about it at the start, but whoever those fans are that are criticising those Newcastle players in any way, shape, or form after what we watched the last 2 years, what, the fan?
Yeah, the fan apologised.
Well, good, because he was an absolute can't say the word on the podcast. Like, come on, what are you doing?
Knobhead. You can't say what you want, mate. It's your podcast.
Literally, like, I'm a Man U fan. What have I been watching for these guys like run around throwing their arms up in the air? I'd kill for my players to run as hard as the Newcastle players did.
Is it? Do we have to remind them that 3 seasons ago they had Steve Bruce at the helm and they had Joe Linton trying to play as a striker? And yeah, there's been some pretty bad days. They were losing to my team in 2009 in the league. Do you know what I mean? Like, people are very, short-sighted.
From an FPL perspective, I don't touch any Newcastle assets at the moment. If you've got Trippier, you can keep him if you want to, but I think he's too expensive for what he is, and with his returns, he's done it in a phase. And I potentially, for example, for a pod team perspective, we need to be looking at getting Haaland back in pretty sharpish. I think Trippier is probably one of those players we can quite easily sacrifice for a much cheaper defender and free up some money to invest up front. We've got money in the bank anyway, but that's the sort of move I'd be looking at to try and upgrade a midfield. Or I only say that because I don't see them keeping many clean sheets currently, and also it's just overpriced. Trip $7 million is just too much money for what his returns for the season. Interesting then, under par or over par, Scott, for Newcastle in 7th place in the league and 8 points off the top.
Just slightly under. I think top 6 is probably where you'd be wanting to be for Newcastle. But at the end of the day, they're still competing in the Champions League in that really tough group. And they're through to the quarterfinals of the League Cup, knocking out Man United and Man City. So if you look at the whole season as a whole, I'd say par, but just Premier League slightly under. Over. Sorry.
Slightly. They're performing slightly under par.
No, over par. They're slightly over par. Over par's bad, isn't it?
Oh, yes, of course. Slightly over par. Yeah, you are right. Yeah, that's right. I think I've been saying that wrong the whole time, probably.
Yeah,
we've been saying
overachieve, underachieve.
Exceeded and under and things like that.
So, yeah, they're slightly under par. Doing much better, Scott. A little bit better, Scott. Sorry, Baz?
I had him in my top 6, so slightly underachieving or over par.
Yeah, like that. We've confused ourselves terribly here, and we par probably. I'd have probably said they'd be about where they are. Same with Brighton. Who
Yeah,
just put
Brighton
next in
far
the
for
league.
me as well.
I
I didn't
agree.
have them in the top.
Brighton and West Ham for me both the same. For like in Europe, and then you're sitting in the top half of the league. I think that's fine.
Yeah, totally agree with that. With the fixtures for Brighton, they've got a good run here at the moment, and we'll touch on in a little bit more depth next week's pod about players to pick. But Brighton will be one of the teams we're going to be doing some focusing on. West Ham obviously are in a really good run at this very moment in time of fixtures. They're in the midst. They're in the depths of it. It ends in game week 18. So again, they're a team that we've talked about quite a lot about who we're going to invest in on the podcast. So we'll shift on to Chelsea. That aren't Chelsea anymore. They're what's the American version of Chelsea? Chelsea.
Chelsea Red Sox.
Chelsea Red
Blue
Sox.
Sox.
Yeah, Blue Sox. That's the one, isn't it? 10th in the league, lads. Some quite weirdly impressive performances against the slightly better teams in the league. Struggling to break down the weaker ones, other than that Luton game. What do we make of Chelsea, Barry?
Underperforming. He's thrown that much money into it. You want to be expecting a lot better than 10th. Obviously, the last couple of games, and yeah, they're playing really well. I say they've probably overachieved in the last couple of games, like beating Spurs, who are high flying, and drawing against Man City as well. So yeah, I think as we probably predicted early in the season, they'll be in top 6 if they keep going as they're going at this current time, because they're playing really well.
Draw with Man City, beat Spurs, obviously a weird game. Lost to Brentford, drew with Arsenal. So I mean, like, out of the last 4 fixtures, they've lost the one they should have won, and they've got 2 draws at home to City and at home to Arsenal, which is strong. They've conceded 6 goals and managed to get 2 points still, just pretty amazing. Considering we were looking at them at a half decent defense earlier on in the season, they've been absolutely.
I'm sure I said early on, I was like, oh yeah, with Casado and everything like that, I'm probably looking at double Chelsea defense. Oh, yeah.
It's mental, isn't it? 4 goals for Cole Palmer, all penalties.
Yep.
Yeah.
All penalties. Someone to look out for. Scott, what's your take on Chelsea, and as their fixtures are pretty tough, next 3, potentially 4 Everton away, then they go on an incredible run from game week 16 to game week 24. The only tough fixture is Liverpool away in game week 22. Are we looking at a Palmer investment at 5.2? I mean, that's cheap. Are we looking at a defender as well? What do you think of Chelsea football?
Yeah, I think for a season, just to touch on that, they've massively underachieved so far. They're sat behind 2 clubs that are in Europe for the first, well, not for the first time. Well, Brighton are, but a couple of clubs that are smaller clubs than them that are in Europe. I think that's really, really bad for them that they're sat behind them. If they were 8th, I'd kind of understand that a little bit more. But I back Chelsea with a manager that knew the league and some players that have had. They got a lot in January, so they've had time to adapt. I thought they'd do. I don't know. I wasn't going to be shocked if they were top 4, just because they didn't have that Europe, and they had a manager with vast Premier League experience. But that being said, you asked me this question in 2-3 weeks ago. I'd say I wouldn't turn on the TV to watch Chelsea. Now, obviously, they've been involved in a couple of crazy games, and they're actually quite. They look like they're finding the stride. They look like he set them up. He seems to have his formation. He seems to have his players he trusts, and it's amazing when you look at that team and you look at how many players that they've not bought for 100 million. I'm thinking someone like Conor Gallagher that is just trusting.
Yeah, totally agree.
And they're looking like they're ticking over. Don't forget they've got Nkunku, who I think's a fantastic player to come back into that starting lineup. We'll take the pressure off Nicholas Jackson a little bit as well. Obviously, he has been getting some returns. Still don't think he's any good at this minute in time, but he's kind of had a start that's similar to what Darwin had, I think. FPL wise, it's a tough one. I'm still not like jumping to get to Chelsea, but with that run, I must say, and I know you don't like him, but I think he's performed against 2 big teams, which you say he never does. I think Sterling is looking good. And from what I remember, he's not that expensive this season on FPL, is he?
7.5, I think.
6.9. No.
And he's been up
Is
there.
it?
He's been
No,
up there at 10 million before, hasn't he? 9,
Mm.
10 million. I think he's looking good. I do. Defensive, I would wait and watch on that. Wait and watch. Good English. Watch and wait. I don't know. Wait and see. There we go. Under par, over par, scratch. Who knows? But yeah, Reece James looked good. He's also injured a lot.
Always injured, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Raheem's got a goal and assist in his last 2. He's a great FPL asset. I'll probably have him against them rubbish teams because he
Played
scored
well against the good teams.
Well, we
It looks dangerous, doesn't it? Breaking from the lines and creating stuff.
I think he's really high at 6.9 million on my list of players to buy when it gets to game week 16. Sterling, I might even be considering a double up with Palmer at 5.2.
Yeah.
Like, because if they are going to continue to score like they're scoring, then Colwell's still quite cheap at the back if you did want to get a defender. If they did look like they're going to start keeping any clean sheets again, but yeah, absolutely, we're going to be investing in Chelsea midfielders.
It's crazy how a couple of
built around.
It's crazy how a couple of moments have just like changed that. If Spurs didn't lose the head, they probably lose that game. If they don't get that last minute penalty, they lose it. And we're sat here probably barely touching on Chelsea.
Yeah, it's true.
What's your take on Sterling not being in the England team?
Good.
Yeah, I'm not.
I think this breakaway from the England team will probably do him good.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. But listen, it is what it is, isn't it? Yeah. I think we've got some. I don't think he gets in the team at the moment. So, yeah, under par for Chelsea, Brentford, par for me. Be looking forward to getting Tony back. Obviously, they've got some fixtures from game week 19 to 21. Look quite good. Maybe have a double, but yeah, whatever on Brentford at the moment. So they are performing at par, lads. Brentford.
Agreed.
Wolves, they are under par, so they are overachieving for me. Gary O'Neill, I think will this is a team again that we will focus on in more depth. They've got a really good run of fixtures now from game week 13 to 20. I'm interested to see when Neto, how fit he is, for an example. But they are performing under par and doing well for me, and we'll focus on those guys next week. Just conscious of time, as we've talked nearly an hour already. Scott.
Yeah, Wolves? I thought they would just be struggling a little bit more than they are, to be honest.
When they lost Lopetegui, I thought they'd be even further down. Yeah, definitely. Baz?
That takes back 27th of November, it says. And yeah, I had him as relegation candidate, so overachieving for me.
Yep. Palace par for me, 13th-ish, where I thought they'd be. Eze and Elise back. They'll be interesting to watch moving forward. In terms of fixtures, they have got 3 really good ones now as well, and then they've got a tougher run after that. So they're another team that we could potentially be looking at. A lot of wild cards flying around this international break. I've looked at potentially getting a Wolves player in and then getting an Eze in and doubling up on Arsenal and having no City. So it's been interesting. Well, we'll look at that next week. Yeah, Spurs, Palace.
Yeah, I think that's just if they stay up comfortably, that's the end of the season, and then they're looking ahead to next season and whoever's going to replace Roy.
Done well with the long-term contracts, haven't they, for Eze and Elise? It's like Brighton with the Ferguson contract. They've got these guys tied down now because they've given them obviously big pay rises because they know that they're going to try cash in on them soon rather than later, which is interesting. But it's a good structure to go with. Everton on the up. Your man Sean Dyche, Scott. 14th in the league. I think they're probably overperforming for me.
No, for me, around that, it's a tough one to look at position in the league and think 14th, 15th, 16th, maybe where you expect them to be. But obviously, with the 4 clubs doing so crap at the bottom, they're comfortably above the relegation zone.
Yeah.
I expect them to be around there.
8 points clear of relegation is strong, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Baz?
I expect that's the points gap is better than I thought. So they've overachieved in the points gap.
Overachieving. I'd have had him where Fulham are 16th.
Nottingham Forest are a team. I didn't mention Everton's fixtures there, did I? Yeah, they're such a very hit and miss team. So we'll be looking at them. Forest have a really good run now after the Brighton at home game. What do you make of Forest, Baz? And how the locals feeling about Forest being 15th? They're 6 points, 7 points clear of relegation. How's Forest? What's the
I
perception of
think
them?
they're ticking over okay at the moment. I think with these running fixtures, then we can actually go, hold on a minute, Forest are doing all right. Because at the moment, as I mentioned, they're doing all right. But after these fixtures, if they start playing well, as I think they should, because I've got them down as underperforming in that position, they've got some good players. I think Cooper's got his set 11 now as well. So for me, they're underachieving.
Probably par for me. Maybe probably 15th, 16th. I thought they'd be Scott.
Yeah, you look at the points as well. They're only 3 points off 10th.
Yeah, it's pretty good, isn't it? Yeah, 3 points of Chelsea's pretty good. Fulham with
Go on, go into Fulham. Go on. We know you hate Fulham.
16th is not
What
great.
defense?
It's not a great season, is it? 16th for them so far. I think they're. You know what? Let's go in on them. I think they're lucky there are 3 really bad teams in the league this season. I think they're lucky that the 3 teams that have come up are not good enough because there's not enough goals in that Fulham team. And Polinia is basically the reason why they're not even further down. Leonard's obviously had a good season, don't get me wrong, but like if they lose Polinia in January, which is definitely a possibility, they're lucky there's 3 worse teams in them because I think they could have been heavy relegation candidates. I think they're clearly better than the 3 teams that came up, but I think they're underachieving in 16th. They haven't replaced Mitrovic properly. Yeah, not a great season for me for Fulham. Lads.
Fully agree on that. I think the striker wise, it's not looking great. Hopefully, Jimenez now has scored and killed everyone's cash clean sheet. But yeah, I think hopefully he can respark something. But no, I think I have to fully agree with you, Alex.
Big home fixtures coming up: Wolves, Forest, West Ham, and Burnley, all in the next 6. Like they need to get some points on the board there. Scott, Fulham.
Yeah, it's a tough one. They went really under the radar. I don't think they got the accolades they should have got last season. I think they did really well. They got was it quarterfinals of the FA Cup as well?
Yeah,
obviously they had that mad moment against Man United. 10th, yeah, what great season. I think they just went really under the radar, and you've got to kind of put them in the same category as Brentford. Both lost the best player, best striker at least, and Brentford are 4 points better off than what Fulham are. So yeah, chatting to Mr. James Pellett, we'll give him another mention. Fulham fan, certainly saying they need a striker, a winger and a centre back is what he thinks they need. And like you say, if they lose Paulinho to Bayern, they will need to replace him as well.
And so Paulinho signed a new contract with a release clause now as well, apparently.
Yeah, I think if they can do some kind of business with Bayern where they get someone back on loan, I think that would be quite ideal because getting someone is tough in January, isn't it?
Big time. Well, the only team that scored less than them in the league is Burnley this year, so that says it all. Bournemouth got 2 wins now in that period of time we said was the key period of time. I know one of them was against
Newcastle.
So that was a big win for them. They got another win when they really needed to. 9 points. They don't look bad when you watch them, do they? Like really, like when I've watched them play, I've never looked at them and thought, they're like a team that's going to be falling apart. But again, I think
it's defensively they don't look as sound as they did with Gary O'Neill. I think that's because they look going forward. Yeah, they look good, but defensively,
they signed Scott, didn't they? And he's injured constantly. They signed. Did they sign Tyler Adams?
Yeah.
Again, injured. Like
Sinister has only just come back, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think I can't see anything other. I mean, this is funny. We always say this, don't we? Like 12 games of the season, I can't see any of the bottom 3 surviving. We always say the same thing. But Bournemouth have got a good couple of players coming back. The holding midfielders hopefully will come back. They'll have one of them, and then they'll do okay. But yeah, they're definitely an underperforming team, an overpower team for me in 17th.
I'd have down there. I think I didn't think they'd have a good season, but yeah, eye test wise, I didn't really watch too much of them to be honest with you. I did watch the Newcastle game. I did think they'd win that game anyway because of what Newcastle's situation is. But I'm glad they're stuck with the manager. One thing to add, I was listening to the radio on the way back on Monday. Obviously, there's been no manager sackings this time last year.
Yeah,
There was 6, I think, something
Really good
ridiculous
point.
like that. So it's really, I like it. I think one of the big reasons for that is the 3 clubs coming up. I don't know. I think they've kind of earned a lot of credit. The managers. So I mean, Luton managers never getting sacked. That'd be wild if he gets sacked. And I think they're going to stick with company. They're going to stick with the Sheffield United. They're going to stick with Heckingbottom.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of sort of stuff going on anyway with the ownership as well there. But Bournemouth manager, I think he's done. He's a very, very highly rated manager. Very highly rated. And he's done some really good stuff in Spain. So I'm glad they've stuck with him, and hopefully they'll kick on a little bit now.
Yeah. Yeah, let's hope so. But Bournemouth for you, Baz?
Agree with you, Alex.
Yeah. I think I had them a bit better, but I didn't have them 17th, 3 points clear of Luton. I didn't have them that bad. Bottom three are the bottom 3 I expected. I expected them in reverse order of what they are. I thought you flip Burnley and Luton around. But yeah,
you both had Bournemouth in your relegation.
I did, yeah.
Pre-season.
Yeah, we both had Burnley a bit higher. I'll tell you now.
Well, then I think they are overperforming.
Saying I had Palace in mine because I didn't think they were gonna. I thought they were gonna lose at Elise, but that didn't happen.
So I had Bournemouth. Do you know why I put Bournemouth in? I put Bournemouth in because I hoped they got relegated.
Oh.
Because I was like, you've sacked Gary O'Neill, you horrible people. You've sacked Gary O'Neill, who's done an amazing job. He deserves way better than you. It's like I still haven't got over Brighton sacking Chris Hughton. Like, you just should get sacked. You just hope you get relegated. But I hate it when managers get sacked when I just think it's completely unjust. Like, it's a hard enough job anyway, and then they get sacked when I don't think it's right. Like Vieira for me, it's
not a championship podcast because we'll be banging on about Rooney and Eustace. But
oh god, don't even start on that one. Joke that is. But yeah, probably but Luton, Sheffield United, and Burnley definitely above par, underperforming for Burnley for me, and then the other 2 are probably par-ish. I mean, maybe slightly above par. Luton being 18th instead of bottom.
I would say at the minute
below par.
I would say at the minute, the best team I've seen for sort of resilience in that hotline bottom 4 teams has been Luton.
Well, you can see with the goals conceded, mate. They conceded 22 goals. Sheffield United have conceded 31 and Burnley conceded 30. Like 22 goals conceded.
They remind me of what Huddersfield did when they came up and they grafted and they stayed up. And then they went down the next season. But I don't know. I kind of love to see. And I was listening to, like I said, Radio 1 on the way home, and they had Andrew Townsend on, who's at Luton now, and he was saying he's never had a dressing room like it. He says it's such a together club. Whereas if you it's quite interesting because you've got no one out. I look at that Brentford down. You expect all them teams to be in the bottom half. It's really weird. Like there's usually a team sitting there, maybe like a Chelsea. To be fair, they would be sat there if they didn't get the last couple of results. Like you go, oh, the dressing room is probably a bit crazy, but no, it's shaping up to be a weird league with those. I hope Bournemouth don't pull away too much and the bottom 3 don't become so far adrift because it'd be a bit boring, wouldn't it?
It would be. So lads, we're going to finish off with a couple of quick fires. And then we'll wrap up because we'll do another podcast next week to preview and do our differentials, preview game week 13 and do our differentials and have a focus on the teams that we've talked about in terms of assets and players. Favourite game of the season so far, Scott?
Because I watched the full game, it would be the one on Sunday.
The 4-4.
Chelsea Man City. Yeah, amazing game.
Same for me. My favorite game. My son was just watching it as everyone who follows
end to end. It was just
Roman couldn't take his eyes off it, and he's 18 months old nearly. He loved it. He was just laying on the floor on the landing. It was like watching this game. Never got through a game of football for ages. Baz, your favorite game?
I didn't watch it, so I can't say it. Unfortunately, I was gutted I didn't watch it because I just heard the chat would just keep pinging off, going, what a game. But I did watch the Spurs-Chelsea game, so I'll have to say that one.
Yeah, it was a good fun one. Biggest surprise, team or player? Just biggest surprise for you this season.
You just scroll up to the top of the league, so I don't think.
Wolves is for me, with her getting the best out of Wang.
That's a really good point. I actually didn't even consider that, but Huang was a joke last season, wasn't he?
Yeah, I got him in draft thinking, oh yeah, he's going to be a good player. This guy, he scored quite a few abroad and things like that, and then just shocking.
Scott, biggest surprise?
Tough on that, I think. Like I said, the table's not that shocking for me. I don't think there's too many massive shocks in there. Like last season, Brentford's just chilling at the top.
Well, you could say Spurs being.
Yeah, I think the last two games just kind of taints them a little bit, but probably still potentially Spurs up there, and a good surprise the way they're playing and the way they've reacted to Kane going. I would say, yeah, them.
Two players for me I had down. Sterling getting returns against two teams that are half decent, and Darwin showed a bit of consistency. They're my biggest surprises because, so all the jokes. I don't rate Sterling, don't rate Darwin. I haven't rated Darwin since he's come here yet, but now he's starting to get some consistency. It's fair play, starting to do well. And then Sterling, returning against two decent teams because it's been a running joke for a long time. He's never done it. Still win the matches though. Anyway, so biggest letdown, Scott?
Probably Manchester United's attack.
That's mine as well. 13 goals, totally great. That's my biggest letdown. Rashford, in particular, my biggest letdown after a season last season.
For mine, FPL basis, I think Szoboszlai and Diaby. Obviously, they've looked really good, but they haven't got the points to back it up.
Is anyone going to beat City? Yes or no, Scott?
No.
In terms of winning the league. So no.
No.
Baz?
Not a prayer.
Me, no. Is anyone going to fall into the relegation battle other than the promoted clubs?
If you could just scroll down, please, mate. No.
No for me as well. Baz?
Yeah.
Oh, thank God. Right. Who's going to fall into the battle? Who's going to fall into it? Or Bournemouth in it already?
If Fulham don't sign a striker, I can see them getting it mixed in it. I think Wolves their high will probably come down, crashing. Obviously, Neto's back, but if he keeps getting injured, then obviously they might struggle. But saying that they've won the last couple without him, I think Everton will get dragged back into it, and Bournemouth, I think. So there you go. There's
do you know what's mad? I think at this going rate of points, I think 26 points keeps you up.
Mad.
Yeah.
That's so poor, isn't it? And that wraps up, lads. That's quite good. Just done just over an hour. And we'll come back next week and we'll review game week 13. Thank you ever so much for everyone for listening. Don't forget to like us. Don't forget to like us. Please like us. Don't forget to like the video.
Add Alex on Facebook.
Yeah, have me on Facebook. Why not? I can do it with some more friends. The ones I've got a crap anyway, aren't they? No offense, Scott. No, but then don't forget to like the video. Subscribe to each other. No, Baz is great. Or be offended. Give us 5-star for our podcast review where you get your podcast from. And don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms. Pod, all in football P, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. If you want to see some really cute pictures of my son watching football and it's the back of his head. Yeah, Scott, bye for now.
Cheers.
Barry, goodbye for now.
See you later, friend.
Bye, friend.